It was a bit of a calm and a bit of a tame.
The season is underway. This is incredible racing. This is some of the best racing I have ever seen.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Oulton Park. Much different conditions today as we continue the first round of the GB3 Championship. My name's Chris McCarthy. I'm going to be joined by Piers as we build up to the second race of the first round of the GB3 Championship. Lewis McGlade is going to be up in the box for us once again. Much different conditions for us here today. We had very sunny conditions as we began the 2024 season on Saturday. We've had a day off. Now we are back for two more races today. 9:30 is when we are going to have the second race today. Before we go into that second race, let's have a look back at what happened in the first race of the season. We're going to take a look back at race one highlights. Let's have a look at those now.
It was a bit of a calm and a bit of a tame start. Louis Sharp leading from pole position, fending off John Bennett, but it wasn't super easy for him. He did have John Bennett going around the outside through the first corner on the run up towards Cascades. Bennett was giving it a good go, but it was a great launch through that first corner at Old Hall, and Louis Sharp was able to hold on to the race lead. Out wide, just a touch there for Gerard Sheehan. It was allowing Ugo Chukwu to come through to take third position. Big crash in the background though, keep your eye on it. It was between James Headley and of course Aditya Kulkarni, who retired from the race there, and then the safety car had to come out once we got restarted. It was all fairly single file racing. Louis Sharp able to lead the field away and was able just to make minimal mistakes throughout the running of the race. Wilberski though was trying to get past Will McIntyre a little bit further down the order, that one being for 9th position, was unable to find a way past, and for the second consecutive year it is a rookie taking victory in the first race of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. Louis Sharp taking the victory with Bennett and Ugo Chukwu behind.
And there you go, that was the race one highlights of the GB3 Championship. Louis Sharp, like the Rodin Motorsport Formula 3 driver, taking the Formula 3 driver taking the win on his debut there. Louis Sharp, absolutely fantastic job. We saw Ugo Chukwu on the podium as well. Let's bring in Piers to have a talk about what happened there. John Bennett also on the podium as well. It's absolutely fantastic job there, wasn't it, from Louis Sharp. British F4 champion coming straight in and getting straight on the podium. It's going to be much different conditions for the drivers today though.
Dream start for the year for Louis Sharp. New championship, you mentioned it, new car. He's not used to it as much as he's done testing over the winter, but you know, he dominated. He was a good margin ahead in qualifying, got a good enough start. Nearly Bennett got around the outside, but I took the win. Different conditions today though, so a very different challenge for him, and yeah, very similar looking top 4-5 positions in the starting grid. So as much as the grid's looking very similar, the race might be quite different with these conditions.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? Plenty of movers on the grid as well.
Yeah.
Looking at the result, were there any other drivers that surprised you in terms of the result?
In terms of the grid starting?
In terms of the result overall.
Oh, it was Gerard Sheehan, we mentioned it yesterday, a very, very good result, 4th place for him yesterday, the leading high-tech Pulse 8 driver. He again is starting on the second row in this race as well, so he's going to be trying to push on for a podium. It'd be good to see that happen. And then there's a few other drivers that have moved up and down a little bit compared to their grid position yesterday, because of course race 2 of the weekend is the grid is set by their second fastest lap time from qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Joseph Loke take his win on his debut last year. Now a Rodin Motorsport driver in Formula 3, and that was something that Louis Sharp has done, looking to follow in his footsteps. Super license points up for grabs this year. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show. And Louis Sharp is going to be pushing on to do similar things this season, no doubt. A fantastic start to the year. Great points on the board already.
Yeah, I mean, he got effectively full points, didn't he? And then he's put himself in the best position as well for this race number 2. He is on pole position for this race once again. His fastest lap was 2.5 tenths clear of the field. His second fastest lap, I think, even maybe even a bit bigger gap to John Bennett in second. So he's John Bennett will be looking to do what he did yesterday and try around the outside. Today, if he gets the same start he did compared to yesterday, with the wet conditions and the grip being offline, he might fancy his looking for the lead of this race.
Well, let's talk about some of the drivers a little bit further down the field. We'll start by talking a little bit more about Patrick Heizenroder. Naomi Newman is our reporter this season, and she caught up with him after the race.
So Patrick, you made up one place off the start. How did that get you started for the race?
Yeah, not bad. I made, like you said, I made the place off up the start, and then we had the safety car, and then it was about 12 minutes of running after that. It's Oulton Park, so it's a little bit of follow the leader, but I was happy with my pace and managed the gap around me. So to gain one and keep my nose clean is a good start to the season.
And how did that safety car kind of affect your race and the way you were running?
I had a little bit of momentum going to the last corner on Jared, but then the safety car was called, so maybe I could have put him under a bit of pressure, but you never know until you've done it. And then the safety car neutralised the race. But after that, the safety car restart was okay, something probably to look back on.
And next race is on Monday. What will you take from this race into then?
From F4, probably like the amount of wash you get when following other cars. That came as a big surprise for me. So I'll look back on that and see what I can do differently to maximise my pace while following other cars. And then also my start, it was okay to gain one position, but I know my teammate got a better one, so I'll try and improve on that.
All right, brilliant. Thank you very much.
We can see in the background the conditions really challenging the Ginetta Juniors out there. But there we heard from Patrick Heizenroder speaking to Naomi Newman after the race. 11th place after the race for him. We did see him out in Zandvoort last year, but now getting ready to take on a full season. What did you make of his performance yesterday, right on the fringes of the top 10?
Yeah, he's joined in with the JHR team who he sampled last year at Zandvoort, and we know that car's quick. John Bennett up in second place, both in qualifying and the race. But I think he'll be happy with a 11th place, nearly inside the top 10 in his first race in the championship proper this year. His sampled race, or the one round he did last year in Zandvoort, was in the very wet conditions, so potentially he's got a bit more experience of racing these cars in conditions similar to what they're going to be today. So he might even be feeling a bit more confident than yesterday, and I'm sure getting a full race underneath his belt for this season will only grow his confidence, and also he's got some good backing, which we're going to hear about later on as well.
And a great teammate to learn from as well. How far will that go throughout the season? Someone like John Bennett, a great character around the paddock, isn't he? How much is that going to help him out throughout the season?
That can only help. John Bennett is going into his third year now in the championship. He's been consistently inside the top 10. Actually, surprising stat that he's only taken 2 podiums, because he's been inside the top 10 so much, but one of the most experienced drivers on the grid, also very, very fast, proved it yesterday in qualifying and in race number 1. So for Heizenroder and his other JHR teammate Josh Irfan as well, they've got a benchmark that is going to be one of the benchmarks for the year, so it's an excellent learning opportunity for both of those guys.
Well, another driver Naomi caught up with was Flynn Jacks. Let's hear what he had to say after his first race.
So Flynn, how was that race for you?
Yeah, not bad. Just experience. Messed up qualifying a bit, so you start at the back and there's no real place to pass around here. So it is what it is, but just building experience.
And obviously there was a safety car in that race. How did that affect the way that you drove?
Well, it's just like managing tyres throughout the race. It makes it much easier for you, especially like dealing with heat in the tyres, not overheating and stuff. And it's just waving left and right a lot.
Yeah, as you said, this is getting experience. So what experience will you take with you onto Monday in the next race?
A lot, just practice starts, actually racing around with other people, following people dirty air, dealing with hot temperatures from the car in front of you, and just making moves,
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
So here from Flynn Jacks after his debut in the GB3 Championship. Well, he brought it home in one piece, 16th place for him. he can only build on that, I guess, going forward. What did you make of his debut in the championship?
Yes, it's his debut, as you mentioned, but all three of the Chris Dittman Racing drivers are having their full season debuts in the GB3 Championship, so they'll all be learning and building as the season goes on. We know that Chris Dittman team has a lot of experience, so they'll be helping them along the way as much as they can, and 16th place is a good place to build from, as you mentioned. And Flynn, of course, coming from Australia, he's come a long way, and he's got the determination. I'm sure we'll see better results from him as the year progresses.
And when you've got, I guess, a team for Chris Dittman, a team of all new drivers, a bit of a challenge for them, I guess, to work with all new drivers, but one they'll be relishing, I'm sure, to work with all of them and get them all working together to help each other move forward. And I guess there'll almost be a bit of a challenge, but a bit of a fight in that camp between them to push each other along.
You hear that all the way up to Formula One, don't you? You want to beat everyone on circuit. That includes your teammates, and sometimes the rivalry between teammates is even fiercer than those outside of your team, because you share a lot of time with them. You can see their data. You want to be the team leader, and that adds an extra level of closeness, but also kind of pressure to be the team leader. And effectively, these drivers in the GB3 Championship, they want to go on in motorsport. They want to be professional drivers. Some of these drivers will make it to Formula One, and to do that, you have to beat everyone, including your teammates.
How did you find it when you raced at this level, racing against your teammates? You don't have to name names, but no, how did you find that level of competition with teammates? Was it someone that's, I guess, always the first person you wanted to beat, right? At every level, not just at this level, but of course you raced at a very high level in karting.
Absolutely. I mean, in karting, I actually very rarely had any teammates. I was either racing in team races or I was a privateer to the solo entry. But in my season in 2020 in the GB3 Championship, two teammates, Josh Mason and Bart Horsden, they were both good drivers in their own right, and it was pretty nip and tuck. We had circuits and corners we were stronger at, but having a strong teammate is kind of almost what you need as a driver to develop. So because you can see how they're doing things, and the advantage of having strong teammates is if they're quicker on a lap, you can see exactly where that lap time is. You know it's not going to be the equipment, because you're probably running very, very similar setups, so it's all down to you and the responsibility's on you. When you look at other teams, if they're faster than you, there's always that niggle in your mind. Oh, is it the setup? Have they got a better, car? Or what's going on there? Whereas there's no excuses within teams.
Of course, now one of those racing in the Indy Next Championship. Well, let's hear from one of the other drivers that was out on circuit. That was Noah Ping. Naomi caught up with him after the race.
So Noah, how was that race for you in the car?
It was a lot better. Unfortunately, I got a little blocked on the start off the line, but it is what it is. It's some boys' first race, so they'll learn. But it was a good race. Car had good pace. We were stuck behind the JHR car like the whole race. So unfortunately, we couldn't show our actual lap time, but as you can see, my teammate put P2 in overall lap times, which is probably what the car had in it. So it's just a bit of shoulda, coulda, woulda this weekend. Unfortunately, today didn't go our way, but it's the way it goes in this championship. You make one small mistake as a driver and you're at the back. So it's good fun when you're up there at the front, but it's not fun when you're at the back when you make mistakes. So yeah, it's unfortunate for sure, but it was a good race. Had fun.
Yeah. How did the safety car affect your strategy?
I kind of figured there would be one. This track warned safety cars. I was a bit surprised there weren't more, to be honest with you, but no, it kind of played into our hand. I thought I could get a better jump on the restart, and I just didn't. I was a bit slacking on the restart, so it put us on the back foot, and then this track's just follow the leader pretty much, you know what I mean? There's not much passing, not much overtaking, just the nature of this track, so it's a qualifying track for sure.
And looking forward to Monday, what will you take from this race onto the next?
Yeah, it shows that we have confidence in the car as a team as well. I think all of us were pretty close on lap time if we had clean air. So we got speed in the car. We've had speed in the car all weekend, and we just didn't maximize qualifying, which it's the way it goes sometimes. So I think it's going to be a wet Monday, and we were decent in the wet. So it's just get position, stay out of trouble, and keep our nose clean.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Good to hear from Noah Ping there. Piers, we were just talking whilst that interview was going out, and you were mentioning there, not just Noah, but the whole team would have been a little bit disappointed with how things started on Saturday there.
Yeah, I think the VRD team were building some really nice momentum at the back end of last year. Noah Ping, of course, had some really good pace, especially at Snetterton last year, taking a win. Throughout the winter, all three drivers were testing a lot, and also we're going to look forward to seeing Nikita Johnson later on in the year, a rising American talent. And they were up there in most sessions at most circuits, and they were really optimistic for the start of the year. And then, unfortunately, I chatted to some of the team members last night, and they were disappointed with qualifying for one reason or another. I know Sean said that he didn't quite put the laps together, and the rest of the team were expecting to be well within inside the top 10, and a position, I think he finished, where was it yesterday, in 14th place. Noah Ping, very much disappointed with that, but that doesn't mean that it all is lost. We've got a wet race coming up. James Headley especially has been very, very quick in the wet in the lead up to this first round in the Thursday and Friday test days. So him starting in last place, I'm sure he's going to be looking to make up as many positions as possible.
I mean, we had a first race where overtaking was very difficult. I think we can all agree on that. Do we think these conditions now can change that? It's going to be a race of survival in some ways, isn't it? This is quite an unforgiving circuit. We can see down to turn one there, that gravel trap comes at you very quickly. Are those guys going to be happy to have woken up and opened the curtains and seen that it's wet around?
I think changeable weather means changeable, race results and opportunity for the drivers lower down the grid. I caught up with Simon Cy GP, who's the race director for the GB3 Championship, just a few moments before we went live, and I had a bet with him. I said, how likely do you reckon there is going to be a safety car on lap one? And he said, pretty likely, because there'll be a lot of drivers pushing on, using this wet weather as an opportunity, and there's going to be a lot of racing, as we're seeing in the background from the Ginetta Juniors. It's not going to be easy. We saw yesterday in the dry that it's very difficult to overtake. The wet, it's slightly easier because it opens up the lines a little bit, but the characteristics of the circuit remain. Oulton Park, it's narrow, there's not a lot of runoff. You mentioned the gravel is close, so hopefully we get a lot of green flag running, because that could give us a good race, and also we can see the drivers who are potentially out of position on the grid making their way forward.
Well, one thing that could open the opportunity is the format of the GB3 Championship. We have the top 12 reversed for the third race. That's something that has changed for this season. Lewis McGlade is going to talk you now through the whole format of the championship. Let's go to him now.
The GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, is run by MSV's racing arm, MSVR. The 2024 season will consist of a maximum 28 drivers across up to 10 teams driving the Tata's MSV 022 car. Each race weekend consists of one qualifying session and 3 races. The first 2 are held over 20 minutes and the third is a 25-minute contest, with the top 12 drivers from qualifying reversed on the grid, with the rest of the grid lining up behind them in their qualifying order. There are 24 races across the season, including overseas trips to Spa, Hungaroring and Zandvoort. And the calendar starts at Oulton Park on Easter weekend, with visits to Silverstone Grand Prix at the end of April, Spa and Hungaroring in June, Zandvoort and a return trip to Silverstone Grand Prix in July, and then with a trip to Donington Park at the start of September, then the final showdown at Brands Hatch at the end of September. There are no required pit stops in GB3, but each car is only allowed to use a maximum of 8 tyres per race weekend or 2 sets, meaning tyre management is critical. The prizes for GB3 are twofold. An FIA Formula 3 test will be awarded to the 2024 champion, as well as the Jack Cavell Pole Position Cup, which awards each driver who claims a pole position with £250. The driver with the most poles at the end of the season receives a trophy and an extra £2,000, as does the team of the driver with the most poles. New for 2024 is the award of FIA Super Licence points. The top 5 drivers in the championship standings at the end of the season will receive FIA Super Licence points. Any driver looking to compete in Formula 1 must have accrued 40 Super Licence points over a 3-year period, and this year's GB3 champion will receive 10 points.
Well, thanks to Lewis there for the format explainer. Let's touch on what we saw at the end there, Piers. New for this season, super licence points up for grabs for the championship, and quite a lot there, 10 overall, and we saw Lewis explaining there 40 you need to get to Formula 1. you're a quarter of the way there if you're in GB3.
Yeah, quarter of the way to getting effectively a license to enable you to get a Formula 1 seat, if you can get it, of course, because you know, there's a lot of drivers out there who are very successful in other series, but GB3 is establishing itself as one of the main pathways, especially from the UK, to give yourself an opportunity in Formula 1, and the super license points is a stamp of approval from the FIA that it's a competitive championship and, you know, worth your time doing it. So we've had drivers who are who've made their way from GB3 into Formula 1, you know, Lando Norris, for example, example of the championship. George Russell won this championship in one of its previous guises, and now with those super license points, we're going to see more and more of the top talent in the UK and Europe and the world coming here in the future, I hope, because that would be amazing. It's such a competitive championship as it is. We're seeing that the drivers who do well in this championship do well in other series. Zach O'Sullivan, champion in 21 in F2. Luke Browning leading FIA F3 at the moment, champion 2 years ago, and then last year Callum Voisin, of course, also moving up along with Joseph Loke and Alex Dunn, the top three. So it's great to see. As a driver, it's really cool to know that if you do well in this championship on this grid where we are right now, that you're effectively you're getting your fingernails closer and closer to what is the ultimate goal for a lot of these drivers in Formula 1.
Yeah, eligible for 3 years as well, and that's the same as what you'd get for winning one of the championships in the World Endurance Championship as well, which I think is pretty cool, or the F1 Academy as well. Let's find out a little bit more about the car that they're driving to get those 10 super license points, shall we? Here is Lewis McGlade to talk you through a little bit more about the GB3 car.
The car the drivers will be taking to in 2024 is the Tartus MSV 022. It's the same car we've been racing in for the last couple of years, but of course with some minor upgrades season to season. One thing that's gone unchanged is of course that fantastic 2-litre 250 brake horsepower engine, sending all of the power to the rear wheels. Brembo brakes both front and rear, obviously to get the car stopped around these tricky race circuits. And then the gears, there's 6 of them, all controlled by paddles on the rear of the steering wheel. As we look around the car, you can see the tyres as well. Pirellis all the way around. They get 8 sets, 8 tyres across the weekend. That's 2 full sets. And of course the upgraded rain lights that we saw last year in 2023 on the rear wing, as well as that main rain light at the bottom. New for 2024 though is the radio, so they can have conversations with the team and with race control itself. Looking around to the front of the car, and you'll see the adjustable front wing. Of course it's adjustable rear wing as well, so the drivers can make the car exactly what they need for every race circuit.
Thanks to Lewis there. Great to see all the features we have on the GB3 car. A couple of things that really stick out for me there. Team radios we saw in action for the first time yesterday, and one thing we're also going to see in use today is those rain lights that we had brought in last year as well. They're definitely going to be in use, particularly for this first race. What do you make, first of all? I mean, I think the rain lights are really cool, aren't they, that they've been brought in as a real safety feature this year, but also the team radios would have been a really cool feature yesterday as well.
Yeah, it's great to see that motorsport continuing to strive forward for safer racing, because we love motorsport. We know it is dangerous, but you know, the high speeds, we don't want to see people get injured where possible. So additions like the team radio we spoke about yesterday, we saw the safety car come out yesterday, and the drivers having in their ear the team saying, right, safety car coming out, just means that the chance of you know, missing one driver missing out on that call or missing out on a board and potentially causing an incident is lower. And then you touched on the rain lights. Last year we had the addition of 2 additional rain lights on the tops edges of the rear wings, which wasn't there previously, so we now have the one in the centre at the bottom and the 2 higher ones, which just gives the drivers behind in high spray conditions like we're probably going to see in race 1 better visibility of cars ahead to again reduce the chances of any incidents happening. But the visibility is still going to be tricky out there today, and then again maybe the team radios come into play once again, because when you're in the spray, it's hard to explain if the people at home who've never driven a single-seater in the wet, but it really is like the thickest fog you've ever been in, and you're flat out 120, 130 miles an hour, you really cannot see. And if you've got a team in the ear saying you've only got 1 car ahead of you and then there's a nice big gap, you know that you can then pull out of the spray on the straights to get a bit more visibility. You know if you can make that move, you've then got an opportunity to push on to the next group ahead. And yeah, it's only good stuff coming towards the championship, and great to see that the championship is still pushing on.
We're going to be hearing from some of the drivers that are on the podium, but just very quickly before we do, I mean, you've raced. I know you didn't have team radio in GB3, but I know you've done that when you've raced in karting.
Yeah.
What sort of things are you saying to the drivers when they're out there, particularly fighting for those podium places?
It depends on the driver actually, and depends on the team and the engineer, because it's normally the engineer for the car that will talk directly to the driver. Some drivers like a lot of encouragement. Some drivers like to be, told you're doing well, good sector that time, and to push you on. Other drivers prefer to be a bit more alone out on circuit and just concentrate on the job at hand. But at the very least, the engineers can give you the information that you would have had on a pit board. So gaps to car ahead, gap to cars behind. Towards the end of the season, you'll also get championship fights. So gaps to your championship rival, and we may even see at the last round of the year. If a driver knows they need to win, and if their championship rival wins the race and they need to finish 4th place, for example, the team can tell them, right, you need to gain 1 more place for the championship, and that's some interesting tactics that are going to go on. Again, some drivers would like to know that, other drivers would just like to go out there and do the best they can and see where they end up. But it's another dynamic and an important one, because we mentioned yesterday, it's something that you will get in every championship, pretty much onwards and upwards in the motorsport ladder from here.
Well, one driver who needed no encouragement on Saturday. We keep saying yesterday, don't we? One driver who needed no encouragement on Saturday was John Bennett, straight back in and straight back on the podium. Let's hear what he had to say after the race.
Hi, I'm John Bennett, racing in the GB3 Championship with JHR Developments.
Tell us about your racing career so far.
So I started racing in Ginettas, didn't do much karting, did a couple months before Ginettas, and then raced in Ginetta GT5 for 2 years. Got 5 wins and 12 podiums, I believe. Came second in the championship in the second year. And then I moved across to GB3, which is quite a big leap. Started off with Elite, came 8th in my first year, finishing with a podium at Oulton Park. And then moved to Carlin for my second year. Didn't go quite to plan, wasn't as strong as we were hoping. Finished 9th in the championship, with the highlight being double pole and 2 wins at Silverstone before a couple of penalties, but still got the double pole. But then, yeah, results were just inconsistent last year, and now moving to JHR. Results have been really good in testing. I think we're looking good going into the first round, but yeah, a lot to still improve on, and yeah, looking forward to the season.
3rd season in GB3, are you feeling the pressure?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of expectation. Obviously, being my 3rd season, it should be strong. There's definitely an expectation to be strong, and there's no excuses why it shouldn't be. But at the same time, I think I'm still early in my career. I mean, a lot of people do 2 years of F4 and then move into GB3. That's essentially what I've done. I just skipped the F4 part. I've only had 3 years in single seaters, so yeah, I think my whole career I've been playing catch-up a bit to the guys around me. So I think now, with the experience under my belt, I think I'm in a strong position moving forward.
What do you do outside of racing?
Pretty much just racing and other forms. A lot of sim racing. I used to play a lot of other sports when I was at school, just like tennis, football. But yeah, now these days it's mostly just sim racing, running. Yeah, generally just thinking about the next time I'm out in the car. So.
Good man. What's the proudest moment in your career so far?
Probably double pole at Silverstone in the wet. That was a good one.
What's your greatest strength as a driver?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'd say leading. I think whenever I've led, I've always been strong. It was the same in Ginettas, and even at Silverstone when I was on pole, led every lap and didn't really feel the pressure too hard. So.
Biggest weakness?
Don't want to give it away to my competitors.
Smart move. So we can go with that.
Yeah, I'll keep with that.
Okay, we've got some quick fire questions then. All right.
Yeah.
Night in or night out?
In.
Pizza or pasta?
Pasta.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Favourite track?
Silverstone.
Pineapple on pizza?
No way.
Favourite film?
Rocky 2.
Favourite football team?
Used to be Southampton because they were local, but I don't really watch football anymore.
Favourite food?
Some sort of pasta.
Lucky number?
27.
And why aren't you in it at the moment?
Oh, Steve, not my choice.
Best driver of all time?
Ayrton Senna.
Who's your inspiration?
My dad.
That was John Bennett there speaking to our commentator Lewis McGlade on Media Day. One of the things I think we wanted to pick up on there, Piers, was his double pole he got at Silverstone you were mentioning there, and then the fact that he didn't actually go on to get either race win. That's something that he seems to have taken a lot of inspiration from almost, and now he wants to go and resolve that, I guess, in a way this year.
Yeah, he said that, he said it multiple times that last year was a difficult year. He was hoping for more. He was with Rodin, or now Rodin Motorsport as it was, Rodin Carlin, and he was hoping for a year up for the championship. Not everything went his way. He was fast at different points. You mentioned the double pole he had at Silverstone and not able to convert either of those wins due to penalties, unfortunately. So he'll be really, really pushing on. And he mentioned in that interview as well that he feels strongest when he leads. So he wants to get out at the front. He wants to show what he can do. This championship is a place you can showcase your skills as a driver, and he'll be looking to go slightly better than he did yesterday on the start and just get around Louis Sharp and try and lead the race and show what he can do in both wet and dry conditions.
And he made a very good start, actually, didn't he? I mean, I spoke to him after the race. You can catch that interview on the stream as well, and he did mention how he was side by side. Even Louis said he thought at one stage he was going to lose the lead down here coming down to turn 1.
Yeah, it was Louis got a very good getaway from the line, but then John Bennett got a very good second phase at the start, and they were, as you say, side by side going into turn 1, and an overlap coming out of turn 1 as well. But just, the margins are so fine, and John decided that going into Cascades he didn't quite have enough of a overlap to force a manoeuvre, and Louis just closed the door, which was good driving from both of them to come out unscathed. But it was very, very close, and I mentioned earlier, if it was the same position again going into turn 1, but the conditions were wet, with the extra grip on the outside off the racing line, Bennett could have taken the lead. Will we see the same in the race coming up in just a few minutes? We'll see.
Yeah, well, we're building up nicely now. I can see the cars are just starting to assemble down in the assembly area there. We're about 20 minutes away from race start. British GT are building up the noise around Oulton Park. Whilst they do that, let's go back to the media day and hear from another one of our drivers. This is what Jared Weberski had to say on media day.
Jared Weberski from Johannesburg, South Africa, racing in GB3 with Elite Motorsport.
Tell us about your racing career so far.
Yeah, so I started karting in South Africa, won 4 championships over there, and then moved up into single-seaters in South Africa, Formula Fords. Did that for a year and a half in between COVID. Came second in that championship, and then I made the move to GB4 in 2022, which was a very last-minute move, and had a really successful season then, doing no pre-season testing and finishing vice champion in that. And then raced in GB3 last year, and we had a bit of a tough year, but now I'm back again for redemption.
What was the biggest jump you noticed when you went from GB4 to GB3?
It has to be the downforce. The downforce in these GB3 cars are insane. They're just so fast through the corners. Power-wise, it's not too big of a difference, but like tracks like Silverstone, really high downforce, you really notice it.
Tell us about yourself off of the racetrack. What do you get up to?
I'm busy. I'm always busy in the gym or the simulator. That's my life really. It's all revolves around racing. I do enjoy going fishing sometimes as well to kind of switch off over the off season in South Africa. I quite enjoy that. But yeah, it's mostly in the simulator and in the gym.
Do you find it quite hard, like sometimes going back home and then having to come back here and a bit of flip-flopping?
Yeah, over the last few years I'd fly back and forth for each race, so it was quite tough. I had to manage a lot of flights. You do get jet lagged, even though the time difference isn't too bad. So yeah, you have to juggle it quite a bit with racing and then family stuff as well. Whereas this year I'll be here till November, so I won't see my family until then.
Is that tough?
A little bit tough, especially you're on the other side of the world chasing a dream, but it's the sacrifices that I have to make, and I'm willing to do that.
What's the proudest moment of your career so far?
I'd have to say in coming second in GB4. I think because it was so last minute, it was nothing we had planned for. So to go there and come second and come over here, everything was completely new to me. Just on the road with my dad, living out of our car. So I think that was probably one of my proudest years.
What's your biggest strength as a driver?
I'd have to say my consistency and smoothness.
Weakness?
Weakness, I think Used to be the rain, but I've definitely improved on that since I've been racing in the UK for a few years, so I think that's not really a weakness anymore.
Good to hear from Jared Wyberski there. Talked a little bit about struggling in the wet conditions, which, yeah, not so great. I mean, he's talked about that struggling in the past couple of years. I guess that's something he would have worked on, though, over the course of testing, and will look to now put right this season, Piers.
Absolutely. Jared Wyberski, of course, being South African. We get a little bit more rain in the UK than we probably do in South Africa, so maybe less experience from the start of his career, but he had a lot of running last year and the year before in GB4 as well in the wet, and has clearly identified it as an area to improve. We've had plenty of rain over this winter, and I'm sure he would have been out testing and improving with the team, new team for this year, of course, for Jared. And you know, we'll see if that work that he's been putting in is made a difference in the race coming up, because it's very, very unlikely to dry out as we see the spray coming off the circuit from the British GT cars behind us.
Yeah, he was 10th in race 1, 7th he's going to be on the grid for race 2, and as you mentioned, he had those seasons in GB4. Another GB4 driver was Colin Queen, and he was another driver we spoke to on media day. Let's hear what he had to say.
Hi, my name's Colin Queen. I'm from Stuart, Florida, USA. I drive for Ford Tech in the GB3 Championship. Ready to get started.
Tell us about your career so far.
Yeah, so I started when I was 7 years old, actually, in karts. Moved my way up from the local, regional, and national series all the way to the international series in Europe. Did 2 years of Formula Ford here in the UK, and then previously, last year, I did the GB4 Championship with Ford Tech Motorsports, which was absolutely amazing. That's why I'm running with them back here in GB3, and this is the highlight of my career so far.
Was it important for you to move from GB4 into GB3 using the same team?
Definitely. You know, me and Ford Tech have created such a great bond together. You know, with all the engineers, with Ollie Dutton, with Richard Dutton, all my mechanics, and you know, it was pretty much a, you know, like I said last year with GB4, it was pretty obvious that, you know, I would go with them, you know, just because we can build on our relationship from last year and what we've been able to do. You know, and that's, I think, is going to give me my most success this year.
California to the UK is quite different. What's the biggest kind of like jump between there and was that driving differences, all that kind of stuff?
Definitely the weather and the tracks. Well, if it was the driving differences, I would say the tracks for sure. Back in California, you know, we have some great tracks such as Bunwillow and Willow Springs, as well as Sonoma Raceway. They were great tracks to drive, but I especially love the UK tracks, just the technicality and, you know, how the weather comes into play a lot of the time. It's a joy to drive.
It's the proudest moment of your career so far?
Man, I have a lot of proud moments throughout my career. The first definitely being representing my country in the CAK Academy Trophy Series over in Europe back in 2018. That was great. I was teammates with Jack Crawford. He's now in F2, and you know, being among some of those drivers that are now off in F3 and F2, it's great, and now I'm in GB3 Championship. Another one is obviously almost winning the Formula Ford Championship back in 2022. We had a great year, and it really put me on my path to GB3. It really, you know, showcased what I'm capable of. You know, it put me on my path of winning the scholarship, doing the GB4 Championship, and now here. Last year, for the GB4 Championship, I would say the last race was definitely my most proud moment. It really encompassed everything that I learned throughout the year with both the car and my driving skills, and you know, having the reverse grid race, starting from 9th and finishing 2nd, and tricking conditions like that. It was great.
What's your greatest strength as a driver?
Greatest strength? You know, I don't really think about that much. You know, I believe that I like to be well-rounded in a lot of areas. I'm getting better at, you know, qualifying and the races and all that. You know, I wouldn't say I have a great strength in one particular area. I've always focused on you know, what areas I can improve, and you know, at the moment, I think I'm pretty strong in most. So,
night in or night out?
Night out.
Pizza or pasta?
Pasta.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Favourite track?
Good to hear from Colin Queen there. I was going to ask you, Piers, and we heard from Colin there how he doesn't really like the PR side. I was going to ask you how you enjoyed the PR side as a driver, but then again, you kind of ended up doing it. You kind of ended up doing it full time.
Yeah, I hate it, mate. I hate it.
Yeah, great to hear from Colin Queen. 8th in the first race, 11th going into today. A solid start to the season for him.
Yeah, I think he'll be very happy with that. You know, the GB4 cars, as much as they are the step before GB3, they're very different to drive. A lot less power, a lot less grip, a lot less aerodynamic. Well, same tyres, but a lot less aerodynamic grip. Let's say that, and the level of the average and the spread of the drivers is so tight in GB3, even compared to GB4, that you know he'll be happy with a top 10 finish to start the year at what Edward Pearson, his teammate, admitted that is not Fortec's strongest track as well. So yeah, it's a good start for him, and hopefully we'll see if they can emulate that in the wet conditions as well.
A great advert for the GB4 Championship as well, I think, after what was a really good first race for GB4 as well. Stay tuned for that throughout the day as well, but it's just showing that the GB4 Championship really is doing its job, isn't it?
Absolutely. You are on the same tyres, you're on the same package, same circuits, for a fraction of the cost. I think the GB4 Championship was a really good addition to this paddock and the GB3 Championship as a whole, and to see the drivers moving up is great to see, and hopefully long may it continue.
It will be a completely different test for him today though, of course. So if you're just tuning in now, we're just over 10 minutes away from the first race. On Saturday it was a completely dry race, today a completely wet race, so it's almost like the start of the season all over again, isn't it, today, around an Oulton Park circuit, which we've already said very unforgiving, isn't it? So we could see a race of survival, a race of just getting towards the end, and a race of overtaking.
Hopefully so. We hope that we won't see the safety car boards come out, but we mentioned that may well happen because margins are so fine. Narrow circuit, there's no runoff around here. If you go off, you're in the gravel or the grass and probably not coming back on circuit. And also because the circuit is so narrow, those mistakes are so easy to make.
Well, let's have a look at where those mistakes could be made. Here is Lewis McGlade with the track map of Oulton Park, and then here's Piers Pryor with a hot lap of how the circuit goes round.
Let's take a look at the first circuit we're racing at in 2024, of course, the Oulton Park International Circuit. Plenty of good overtaking opportunities around here if you are brave. The Old Hall corner, that first turn, then the drop down the hill into Cascades. Island Bend and Shellows, a little bit too narrow for my liking, completely flat through Island Bend, but you can make something stick into the Shellows hairpin. You've got the Britain chicane, then the Hislop chicane, up Clay Hill for after Knickerbrook, then into Druids corner, one of the best in British motorsport. Flick it through that 2 apex right-hander, and then into Lodge corner. The drop down the hill and then back up through Deerleap onto the start-finish straight. It is tricky to make moves around here, but it is possible. Not for the faint of heart. You've got to be brave if you want to make it stick around the 17 turns. 2.7 miles all the way around. And one of the major features around here is not just the 22 metres of elevation, but of course how narrow this circuit is as well. Very, very tricky. Arguably one of the hardest circuits we'll deal with all season.
Let's ride on board the Oulton Park International Circuit with one of the Chris Dittman racing cars. This is an awesome circuit and really challenging for the drivers. First corner, Old Hall, nick the curb on the apex, watch out for track limits on the exit. Now we're dropping steeply downhill for Cascades. Down the bump, use the compression, all the way to the curb on the inside, and watch out for the track limits on the exit. Once again, a short breather now as we head towards the completely flat out Island corner. Turn in completely flat out to the middle of the road, then back to the left-hand side to open up Shell Oils. Get down, use the banking on the inside. Traction is difficult there, can easily spin the inside rear wheel if you're too aggressive on the power. Now, Britons, use the curb on the left, car goes light. Clip the curb on the right-hand side, and again watch out for track limits on the exit. We head over the hilltop, trying to reduce the amount of road we use before we brake on the left-hand side to open up the Knickerbrook chicane. Clatter the curb on the right, nip the curb on the left to the middle of the circuit, then open up the run towards Clay Hill. Again, another short breather, completely blind here, just trusting where the track goes, and it's all about setting ourselves up for Druids. Completely to the left-hand side, under the trees, first apex hit, second apex just missed. Watch out, the circuit comes up quickly on the exit, one corner to go. braking extremely late now. Braking downhill, the corner is banked on the inside, then goes light again on the exit, and then dearly to complete a lap of the Oulton Park International Circuit. What a circuit, and let's see how the racing is going to unfold this weekend.
Well, that was a look round the Oulton Park track and a hot lap around it as well. Might have looked a little bit different to what it's going to look like now, Piers. Here we go. Down in the assembly area, wet tyres are bolted on, umbrellas are up, but not to keep the sun off, to keep the rain off the drivers. Clear visors are on. Nerves are going to be building, I'm sure, especially if they are taking on GB3 races on for the first time, which 11 of them are, Piers. I'm sure it's going to be a pretty nervous feelings around the assembly area here. Yeah,
there's two types of face that I can see. There's determined and nervous faces, and then rain faces, because the drizzle is getting heavier by the minute. It's tension building. The cars are running. You mentioned the clear visors in the sun on Saturday, a couple of days ago. Tinted visors out, much like sunglasses. Today, you want as clear vision as possible, so you can see all the puddles forming. You can see where the spray is, and of course, it's also pretty dark out with the amount of cloud cover we've got.
One to watch, you've mentioned him already, James Headley.
Yep.
Let's have a quick look at him. Louis Sharp's going to be on pole position. John Bennett, we've had plenty of look at them on the stream so far. One person we haven't really looked a lot at is James Headley.
Yep.
Experience, plenty for James Headley. Let's talk a little bit about him. Finds himself down the order.
Yeah.
He's going to see this, I'm sure, as an opportunity to move forward now.
Yes, of course, very experienced and quick driver in the championship. Took some good results last year, multiple podiums and wins. We know he's quick in the wet. We saw that last year. He won a race here a year ago in these very similar conditions to these. Unfortunately, not joining us for a full season this year, I believe. He's in for a couple of rounds before Nikita Johnson is joining for the VRD team. Issues in qualifying. He was up there in every practice session, and then unfortunately all of his fast laps, I believe, are deleted for track limits. So that's why we're finding him down the bottom of the grid. But again, won the race last year in conditions similar to this. Starting last on the grid, it's going to be difficult to overtake, of course, because the circuit is narrow. We've touched on that a moment ago. But he will be one of the movers in this race, assuming we can stay green for a majority.
Let's take a look down the other side of the grid then. You can see the cars all lining up, ready to go. Teams giving their final words of encouragement before it is over to team radio. Some of them may just use team radio to do that. Now we'll head down the other side. Row 2, we've seen them swap round. So Gerard Shee, a good chance of him for a podium finish today. Missed out on it yesterday.
Yeah.
All he has to do really is get a good start and hold position.
Yeah, we saw Gerard pushing on and nearly getting that podium third place spot on the first lap alongside Ugo Chukwu, and didn't quite manage to pull that off, but his second fastest lap ever so slightly quicker than Ugo Chukwu's in qualifying, which has put him one place higher on the grid than we saw yesterday, and he will be hoping to start off his first round of the season with a podium. Great to see him do so well. You know, he's used the experience that he gained last year in the championship. Last year racing for Hillspeed, this year moving over to the High-Tech Pulsate team, and it will be interesting to see if he can grab a podium, because he's an up-and-coming star from China.
Yeah, really fantastic stuff. We got Ugo, the American, and McLaren Jr. Next along in the number 31, straight onto the podium yesterday. Mackenzie Cresswell after that in the number 16. Timek Kahacek follows in the number 22. Then in the number 20, we heard from Jared Wyberski in the build-up to the show. Will McIntyre, what did you make of his performance yesterday? Great British F4 driver. What did you make of him coming into the championship and his debut?
In the dry, Will has been very, very fast in all the pre-season tests. He's been right up there, along with all of his teammates, if I'm completely honest, in the High-Tech Pulsate team. I think he'll actually be slightly disappointed with how his qualifying went. You know, he would have been hoping for top 5s, and he's still well within inside the top 10, but he didn't quite put his laps together as he wanted in qualifying, and I'm expecting to see him up towards the very, very front of the grid at points this year, and moving out from F4 is not easy. Louis Sharp may be making it look so, but he's doing a very good job, and we will be hoping to be up there with him. Of course, they were adversaries last year in British F4. So yeah, he's a top draw driver. There's no doubt about it. And maybe we'll see him moving up as well, because he has a lot of experience racing in the UK on the single seaters. So we'll look out, and maybe it'd be interesting to see the driver directly ahead of him, Jared Boberski. How will he get on? We just touched on a few moments ago the fact that he thinks that his wet driving is something he wants to improve this year.
And then we've got Seb Murray next along behind that. It's going to be 2 green flag laps, Piers. That's going to mean a bit more time to warm up the tyres. How hard is it to drive these cars in the wet? Tell us, and what's your final thoughts before we see them going out, because that is them now going out to race.
Yeah, final thoughts is they'll be trying to get as much tyre temperature as possible, get a feel for the car on the outlap, and find where the grip is, because it changes as the weekend goes on. But it looks like there's a potential issue for Gerard Shee. Let's hope he can get going again. The mechanic just plugging in the external battery to power up the starter motor. Looks like it's all good. Yep, he's going. So that's good news.
Yep, Gerard Shee is off, and so is the rest of the field. And with that, I think we should now get ready to go racing for race 2, round 1 of the GB3 Championship.
Race 2 coming in from very different conditions, of course, at Oulton Park. Our journey for the GB3 Championship from Oulton to Silverstone, and then our European road trip obviously beginning in Spa before a little trip to the Hungaroring, a brand new track for the GB3 Championship in 2024. Then to Zandvoort as we raced there last year, back over into the UK for 3 races, 1 in Silverstone, 1 round in Donington Park as well, for that season finale this year at Brands Hatch. How tricky, tight testing that will be. Speaking of which, the season opened at Oulton Park. Looked delightful on Saturday. Less so here today. The narrowness of the circuit is definitely going to bite. Of course, we've seen all the great overtaking opportunities around here, the likes of Oldhall, that run down into Shells where there was an incident yesterday, of course, up through Druids and then Lodge Corner, that final turn on the racetrack. So slippery, so tricky, so difficult on a day like this. 17 turns round here, and of course the most notable features in the 2.7 miles are the narrowness of the track and the elevation all the way around. Lots of lumps and bumps around Oulton Park here in Cheshire, and as you could tell, we saw when we were watching McCarthy and of course Piers down in the assembly area, it is wet out there. Comparing it to yesterday, where yesterday was a Saturday, where it was about 15, 16, 17 degrees Celsius. Today it is 7 degrees Celsius out there. Very, very cold indeed. Rain is coming down as well. That is a recent addition, I'll tell you that. It's only just started raining quite a bit once more, as we'll see them line up on their grid slots. Like you heard from Chris McCarthy as well, there will be 2 green flag laps. What that means, they will go around twice and then will line up in their grid slots and then get this race underway. As far as I'm aware, it's not going to be a safety car start as well. They will be allowed to clear their way down into turn 1 as per the norm. It's going to be very exciting. Of course, Louis Sharp yesterday, an unbelievable drive to that victory, did not put a single foot wrong. Can John Bennett dethrone him for this race and maybe take his first win in GB3? Of course, the marshal just double checking all is okay to begin this green flag lap for round 2 of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. It is going to be such a tricky run. Everyone is obviously going to be on wet tyres. No one can take slicks in conditions like this. There's far too much weather, there's far too much moisture on the racetrack. I mean, you can even see some of the puddles there behind like Noah Ping, you hit that with a slick tyre, yeah, you're not going to have a good day at all. So here come the green flag laps, then we'll get you the grid, talk you through exactly what the dealio is and what is going to be happening. Yesterday's podium, Louis Sharp, John Bennett, then Ugo Ugachukwu on his first race in the GB3 Championship, so solid effort. Safety car board is held aloft, so I wonder if then we will actually get a safety car start. We'll wait and see on that one as they head their way down into the first corner and start getting those that heat into those tyres. And of course start clearing some of the moisture even from the race circuit, although let's be honest, with the rain coming down now, they're going to be hard pressed to do that too well. Let's take a look at the starting grid though for the second race of the season. We'll see Louis Sharp on that pole position once more. John Bennett lines up alongside on that front row, the exact same front row as they were yesterday. Behind all of that though, in third position, a bit of a switch on the second row of the grid. Gerard Shea, who had the, someone's actually gone for a bit of a spin there. I'll talk you through that in just a second. I think it's Sebastian Murray. Anyway, Gerard Shea and then Ugo Ugachukwu back there in fourth position, and then Mackenzie Cresswell in fifth. Tibet Kuharczyk starts from sixth position. No, seen a lot of fans of Kuharczyk out there in chat. We know the Polish contingent will be out in stride to see him race his way around. Jarry Wilberski in the seventh position with Will McIntyre for the High-Tech Pulse 8 team in eighth position. Down in ninth, Sebastian Murray, who has had a spin. We'll double check where he's ended up. Patrick Huitzenroder inside the top 10. He'll be starting the next race from reverse grid pole as well, so desperate for him to keep a clean car on the road. In 11th spot is Colin Queen, who actually had a fantastic debut yesterday. He'll starting on the front row in the race later on today. Arthur Rojon will start alongside him on row 6 in 12th position. Noah Ping in 13th position with Josh Irfan in 14th. Qualified in 13th yesterday, was a bit frustrated with how that went, but still showing some great speed in his debut in the GB3 Championship. Did a couple of rounds in GB4 last year, did Irfan. Down in 15th position, it'll be Hugo Schwarzer, of course, for the Elite Motorsports team, with Ed Pearson down in 16th for Fortec. The final few rows of the grid sees Flynn Jackson and Aditya Kulkarni on row number 9. Row 10 will see Rishabh Jain and Sean Rashid as well. Obviously Aditya Kulkarni, by the way, the lone hill speed driver. There is Rishabh Jain and of course Sean Rashid. One final row sees James Headley in the VRD Racing by Arden team. So 2 green flag laps here, whilst Piers joins me in the commentary booth. He wouldn't have seen the spin from Sebastian Murray. He had a bit of a spin coming down Cascades.
I was about to say, as I walked in the commentary box, that I overheard you say spin, and genuinely, as I was walking between the assembly area and here, I was thinking, I wonder if anyone's going to spin the car, because the grip levels compared to where we were last out on circuit on Saturday afternoon are very, very different. And as much as all these drivers will have driven in the wet on practice on Thursday and Friday, because we had a number of wet sessions, it's a shock to the system when you then get back going once again.
So as you can see in the top of your screen, timer is ticking down, so the race has effectively started under the safety car. So that second green flag lap, we are doing it just under safety car procedures. The safety car should come in at the end of this lap, and then we'll be racing, but it will be a safety car start. So I was wrong.
You're wrong.
I said I was like, I don't know if they'll be doing 2 green flag laps and then they'll be starting from the grid, because we've done that before. But no, 2 green flag laps. Safety car boards are all around the circuit, so yeah, they'll race from that. I think
it's a good shout in terms of safety.
100%.
It's still only the second start of the year. A lot of new drivers to the championship. Oulton Park notoriously narrow and bumpy, and there's no margin for error whatsoever. With the spray, new drivers, you know, it's a good thing to get going under single file formation, because it's so hard that, you know, it's so easy to lock a brake into turn 1 or turn 2, just braking slightly too hard and clatter into a driver, and then you can have 2 or 3 drivers off, and what with the spray, it can cause a dangerous situation. So the race is going. Of course, no one is able to overtake under safety car conditions, but hopefully we'll get going on green flag racing at the end of this lap.
And the bad thing about that is I think it's actually going to work out fairly poorly for the number 91, because I think obviously Sebastian Murray was starting from. Oh no, I think he has returned to his spot. I was going to say, I don't know if it was he after a spin, would he be allowed to return to 9th position?
You are allowed to return to 9th position once we were under green flag running.
Right.
But of course, as soon as the yellow flags come out, you're not allowed to pass any cars.
But technically speaking, on the formation app, the safety car lights and boards were all around the circuit,
So
even though the race hadn't technically started.
the rules are pretty black and white as far as I'm aware, unless there's something that I'm unaware of, a clause in the specific supplementary regulations. But I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to pass the car ahead of you if there is a yellow flag in the sector you're in. So if Schwartz is taking the position that he was already in, I'm sure that the race director and the stewards will be looking at that.
I just saw McIntyre come over the crest of the hill when the car behind him was not Sebastian Murray. So safety car lights are out. And they will be coming back into the pit lane. I do believe Sebastian Murray then will have dropped down the order. I'll update you with where he abouts is. I believe it'll be somewhere around the 15th, 16th. You can see him at the back of shot there behind the number 3 of Noah Ping. So he'll actually be in 13th position. Louis Sharp then will take control of the field in his Rodin Motorsports car. You've got John Bennett behind. We're about to get this race underway. It will most likely be a timed race rather than going to the 13 laps as we start the race here, going down the hill and then back up dearly. Plenty of squabbles in the mid-pack and some big slides indeed. So big start then from Louis Sharp, then John Bennett, then Gerard Shee behind, and they all try and dart through the spray. Look at that though, coming down the inside. That is the 22 Garchick. Oh, he's a bit too deep and sends Mackenzie Cresswell off.
Oh, Mackenzie Cresswell on the wet paint is sliding around. We saw a lot of drivers scrabbling for grip, including John Bennett, who I was about to say had an excellent launch off the safety car restart. Oh, that's someone nearly going off. That was one of the VLDs. Oh, was it Artur Rojon? But yeah, a lot of drivers getting wheel spin out of the final corner, including Waberski. And there's an example of how much spray these GB3 cars kick up and why we started on the safety car in the first place.
Yeah, of course. You can see there's the move to the inside. Once again, oh my goodness me, Kuharczyk is flying right now. He sent it down the inside of Ugo Ugachukwu going into the Shell Oils hairpin. He is up to 4th position already. He is on a mission. Next one for him, teammate Gerard Shee.
Wow, what a start from Timet Kuharczyk. We know he doesn't hold punches, and here he is.
Yes.
He's got a great exit. He's got so much grip, Lewis.
Unbelievable drive. He's picked up 2 positions in the first couple of corners. He's going to try and clear his teammate. I know the Polish fans will be loving this, and Gerard Shee backs out. Kuharczyk onto the podium here in the second race of the season. He is on a mission to take a victory here this afternoon.
He is on the absolute limit. You could see the car squirming around under braking. I thought he was going to go straight on. I thought he was going to go straight across the chicane, but no, managed to get it stopped, and there's more squabbling for position down the order. Wow, what a start for Timet Kuharczyk.
Yeah, what a start as well from Louis Sharp. He pulls out to around about a second clear of John Bennett. We were looking through some wet weather times they were having back on Thursday, and Louis Sharp, John Bennett were the 2 fastest on the field. But at the moment, I'd say the fastest driver right now on the circuit is that 22 of Timet Kuharczyk. Looks to the inside. We'll get these first laps completed and we'll start to really decide things. Fastest middle sector did come in from Kuharczyk on that lap. So Louis Sharp will lead from Bennett, from then Kuharczyk, of course, across the line, who's desperate to work his way through in the second position. Then comes Gerard Shee, Ugo Ugachukwu, Mackenzie Cresswell dropped down to 6th position courtesy of that move from Kuharczyk. Then Waberski, McIntyre, Hoytsenroder and Ping.
Wow, looking at the times, the middle sector was, as you mentioned, fastest from Kuharczyk, and that was while overtaking 2 cars.
Crazy, isn't it? He is so fast right now. Again, unbelievable. There is confirmation. Oh, someone's been off in the gravel trap. We can hear that. That's just below shot. Who is that? Well, we've got the 77 of. That is Rashid Jain. And, of course, the number 3 of Noah Ping. I believe that's the 3 of Ping, who is off the road.
Oh, yeah, that's really disappointing for Rishabh Jain. He's clearly off at turn 1. I think he was on the circuit near... Was he on the circuit near...
I think they were quite close to each other. But I will say Noah Ping has just gone through the cut through, so he's basically the race leader at the moment. That will, yeah, he's probably going to return to pit lane. I'll put it that way, because he's way ahead on circuit right now. There is Louis Sharp, then your actual race leader. But yeah, very messy down there.
Yeah, it's a lot of drivers scrabbling for grip, and it's so hard to find your positioning in the middle of the grid, because we've seen that spray, and it means that you're trying to pick your braking points and pick your turning points and be pinpoint accurate. Is it so difficult? Oh yeah, go on, Lewis.
Safety car's out. Safety car has been deployed then for the second time this weekend. I don't think anyone is shocked by that, courtesy of where Rishabh Jain's car is. I was going to say it was coming out anyway.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do, and there is the number 3 of Ping. Has he got damage? let's keep an eye and see if the team are looking at the car, or whether he's just realised that he's cut the circuit and it's going to be a lap down.
Well, the thing is, where Rishabh, yeah, because obviously he's missed the timing beam, so he won't be counted as the race leader anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Where Jane went off and where Ping went off were two very different points in the circuit. Ping was also inside the top 10, and Jane, because this is down at T1 is where Rishabh Jane's been off, and it was the second corner of the racetrack, that left-hander down at the bottom of the hill, where we saw Ping off the road. Yeah,
I think there are probably separate incidents, because Ping was quite a few places ahead of Jane on the road as well. So two separate incidents on the same, or the start of the second racing lap, different incidents, and it shows how fine the margins are. And it's hard to explain. I mentioned on the grid how little grip in the wet there is compared to the dry in these GB3 cars. You know, when the rain falls on the road and you're driving in your road car, it doesn't feel that much different, but that's because you're not really ever on the limit of the grip in the dry. And then Lewis, you're pulling a face like you drive around like Lewis Hamilton. But anyway, then you've got that compounded by in the dry, you've got slick tyres. The grip that these cars can produce in the dry is outrageous, you know, almost mind-bending in terms of how they stick to the road. And then when you take it from that enormous level down to what feels like, you know, a quarter, a fifth of the grip in the wet, or what feels like, the mistakes can come so easily, and they're also, all mistakes are exaggerated as well. Yeah. In the dry, if you lock a wheel slightly, you might run a car length wide. In the wet, that wheel is then locked for the braking zone, and you can run 10 metres wide, which can take you off the road, through the grass, into the gravel, as we've both seen Jane and Ping do. Yeah, exactly. It's so easy to do in these kind of conditions. We saw this quite a lot back in Zandvoort as well last year in very similar conditions. To be fair, think of Patrick Hoytzenroder here. He's done, this is his 5th race in GB3, and all of them have basically been wet. I've got to say, by the way, I did see a poll that went out in our little YouTube chat as well before the race about who do you think was going to be the race winner. Louis Sharp won that one by 50%. I do wonder if Kuharczyk was a part of that vote, how high he would be, and if you did the vote again, how high Kuharczyk would be on that now, because remember, he picked up 2 positions on that first lap, or 3 positions rather, on that first lap basically. He's only got 2 more ahead of him before he is the race leader. And to be fair, as much as Bennett and Sharp are very good, the speed he had and the ability to be that aggressive but keeping it on the road, who knows? I'm really interested to see how this race is going to play out in terms of the top 3 from now on, because we've seen outrageous pace from Kuharczyk before. We know how fast he is, we know he loves getting stuck, and he can deliver the moves. But one of his undoings last year was his lack of consistency, occasionally going too far, making mistakes. You know, Snetterton springs to mind when he tried to take the lead from Callum Boyson with an audacious move and ended up ending both of their races. If he has moved on, if he's matured as a driver, he might think, you know what, started in, where did he start, 5th, 6th place, and I've got myself into 3rd place. If this is the best I can do, that's a good result for me. Or whether he continues to push on to try and take that win, because that'll be interesting to see in terms of how he's maturing as a person, as a driver, and also, you know, how he goes about racing. There's been drivers, successful professional drivers. Jason Plato is an example in the British Touring Car, and he said multiple times in many interviews, if I'd have won less races, I would have won more championships. Yep. Because Marc Marquez. Yeah, exactly. Jason Plato said, I come here to win races, and I will do that above all else, and that's probably meant that it's cost me 2 or 3 championships. And hey, that's fine for him, he's had a successful career, but if Kuharczyk wants to win the championship, he wants to be a driver where championships are you know, his goal, then potentially he needs to figure out when to take stock. But again, only he will know how much pace he has in that car compared to the drivers around him, and how much risk he's willing to take to get those final 2 positions. But let's just look at that front 3 right now. Sharp doing excellently once again. Job made slightly easier by the safety car restart, but again, he's the first one arriving at every corner. He's not made a mistake yet. John Bennett keeping his nose clean. He'll take another 2nd place, I'm pretty sure, if he can get it. Of course, he'll take the win if the opportunity arises. He's got to. But I think Bennett's probably in the most difficult position right now. He'll look in his mirror and know it's Kuharczyk, knowing where he started, knowing what Kuharczyk's like, and be thinking, right, I need to push onto the back of Sharp, because otherwise I'm going to be getting some heat. And like we were saying, we're going through the stats. Obviously, John Bennett has crossed the road, across the line as a winner twice in GB3. That was back in Silverstone in rounds 4 and 5 last year. Had them both removed. One of them for track limits penalties, one of them for contact. We can't remember. I think it was contact with Kuharczyk in all of that. So we'll have to wait and see on that. It's just one of those things. You know, sometimes these things happen. Obviously, all of these drivers, if they're doing a 2nd year in the sport, they've got
history with other drivers. There'll be drivers they like, drivers they don't like, drivers they've been aggressive with, drivers they haven't. I mean, I'm sure Bennett might have even taken it a little bit to heart when obviously Kuharczyk had contact with Bennett's teammate last year, Callum Voisin at Snetterton, going through turn 2. Either way, safety car's cleared off. What is the important thing for Louis Sharp to do now?
Well, he did a very, very good first restart. He went to the outside of Lodge Corner, the final corner where the safety car is coming into now, and good traction is the main thing. Bennett actually was right with Sharp through the apex of Lodge, but then we saw he had a big oversteer moment with lots of wheel spin. And that cost him, so he wasn't right on the back of Sharp. So Sharp will be looking to do the same thing again. But look at Timet Kuharczyk, the number 22 high-tech Pulsate car in 3rd place, right on the back of Bennett, showing his intentions early. And he's gone wide. Yeah. So that potentially will give an opportunity, if he can get good traction, to get 2nd place over the line. And it is another great start for Louis Sharp.
Yeah, exactly. I think Kuharczyk might try and do what he did with Mackenzie Cresswell down at T1, feels the mirrors of John Bennett, tries to commit to it, does not commit to it fully. His teammate Gerard Shee is now going a little bit deep at T1, and he's going to lose out of position shortly. Uga Chukwu. There's a big crash between Colin Queen and Josh Earthen going down into the final corner. They'll be able to get back going. It's absolutely fine. 7 minutes and 20 seconds left to go in the race. It should be 4 or 5 laps left in this one. That is the 21 8th position. That is McIntyre trying to fend off or get past rather Boberski, as here comes John Bennett for the race lead straight around the outside. That is so unbelievably brave for John Bennett as he gets down to the inside at Shell Oils, and John Bennett with a scramble of grip takes the race lead.
John Bennett, what a move around the outside of Shell Oils, right up against the white line. Louis Sharp squeezed him all the way, but managed to make that move stick. John Bennett will be absolutely over the moon with that, but it's not done yet.
That is absolutely phenomenal. The bravery to try and go around the outside of Island Bend in these conditions, nearly got squeezed off, was probably millimetres away from visiting a barrier as Josh Earthen comes in the pit lane.
Oh, what a move. It was a shame that we didn't see the run from the exit of Cascades Turn 2 into Shell, because that was where the move will have been started. It will be great to catch up with Bennett at the end of the race and ask whether he just got a great exit or whether Sharp made a mistake, and that if it was a mistake from Sharp, that will be his first mistake of the season, because he's been pretty faultless so far.
I'm still annoyed at John Bennett, by the way. He played golf yesterday, didn't invite me. That's fine. It's fine. I said I'd bring it up in the broadcast. I have brought it up, and now I'm going to leave it, sort of.
Let's move on, Lewis.
No, I'm actually fuming. But no, John Bennett obviously leading the race. It would be fantastic to see him take a victory again. He got his 3rd podium. There was someone wide there in the foreground, not 100% sure as to who it was. I believe it might have been Murray, who was a little bit wide there going into Druids. We'll see if he drops down the order this time by. They complete the lap, and the order will be John Bennett leading the race, then Sharp, then Kuharczyk, Uga Chukwu, then Cresswell down the order in 5th position, then Gerard Shee, McIntyre, Waberski, then Schwarzer. Who was that?
Who's that? That is...
I think it's Uga Chukwu.
Is that Uga Chukwu? It's hard to see in the spray. Yeah, it was the car ahead of Cresswell. So yeah, that is Ugo, who's made a mistake at turn 1, locking up and then just running through the gravel. Uga Chukwu going narrow on the inside.
Whoa! My goodness.
There's that Gerard Shee once again.
That was Will McIntyre.
Okay, Will McIntyre. It's so hard to tell with the numbers in the spray, isn't it, Lewis? And it just shows that if we can't read the numbers on the live stream, then how little visibility the drivers have in the car. Oh, a moment through the middle of Shell Oils for John Bennett.
But he did that last time when he made that move. He also sort of like struggled for grip, scrambled up the racetrack. Okay, in this, like we see this all, you know, the karting line was what I said. Going to somewhere like Shell Oils, a banked corner, does running halfway up, maybe even a little bit higher on the corner, does that help?
Yeah, especially at Shell Oils, because the rubber from the dry line is all on the inside. You have less grip on the rubbered line in the wet conditions, and what with it being banked, if you go higher, one more grip in terms of the circuit grip, but also you can carry a higher minimum speed because the radius of the corner is greater, which can then allow you to get a better exit out of the corner and a better lap time, of course.
Now look at this car, the number 2 behind all this, that sort of charcoal grey, trying to get past the more silvery sort of grey. That is James Headley, who's come up from 21st to 11th. 4 minutes left to go in this race. It will come down to time, obviously. There should be 3 laps to go at the line. James Headley is on a mission to get inside the top 10 after starting from the rear of the field. Now we're seeing why James Headley is a quality peddler in the GB3 Championship.
Well, he won the race in the wet last year here, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, and he was also quick in every single wet practice time this weekend, on Thursday and Friday, technically not the weekend. Let's have a look at the fastest lap from John Bennett is nearly a second quicker than anyone else on circuit right now.
That's wild. Yeah, John Bennett, you can see there at the bottom of the screen, 47.986. Louis Sharp, 49.098. That is unbelievably fast from John Bennett. He is loving these conditions.
He's loving the conditions, but he does also have the best conditions on the circuit, being the driver at the front of the field. We're still watching we're still watching Headley as he's continuing his charge from last on the grid, up 10 places, which is a very, very impressive drive so far in the GB3 Championship, because you very rarely see people move up double digits, especially in race 1 or race 2.
I'll tell you someone who on this grid will be happy to see John Bennett win, and that is James Headley. Those two are they're good mates, James Headley and John Bennett. Obviously Headley trying to get past one of John Bennett's teammates, that's Patrick Hoytzenroder, inside the top 10, feels the mirrors coming down into the Hislop chicane, unable to find the way past. Just kind of struggling, I think, where there's a couple of cars ahead of the, with those two elites of Schwarzer and Wilberski as well, just a little bit of a struggle. But either way, there's the defensive line coming in. Gerard Shee trying to keep Will McIntyre. Oh my goodness me, Will McIntyre took an awful lot of that curb. You don't want to do that in the wet.
Well, they will be taking the curb on the inside to try and shorten the line and also just get your tyres inside that rubber line. But these GB3 cars run so low to the ground, you hit those high curves too hard, it pulls the wheels off the ground completely, and then the chassis hits the ground on the way down and can sometimes unsettle the car. So it's a fine line between finding extra grip and also causing yourself to lose that grip.
Yeah, indeed. Let's see them pop through the spray. Anyone going for any moves going down into Lodge. There's the two high-tech Pulse 8s. It would be Gerard Shea with McIntyre behind. There is John Bennett across the line. There is Louis Sharp, second place on the road. 2 minutes left to go, 2 laps left to go. Big lot of opposite lot going in through T1, coming in from Kuharczyk, and there you can see the lap-by-lap delta between Bennett and Sharp. Ignore the first one because that was under safety car, but it was, it's basically, it was a second on lap 6, a second and a bit on lap 7, and the lap that's just been complete is another 3/4 of a second. Bennett is flying right now, and they don't have to worry about tyres.
No, because wet tyres you have effectively as many sets as you want. There's no way that you can put a limit on number of wet tyres, because, for example, if this race started wet and got dry and everyone had their wet tyres destroyed as they overheat, then it'd be very unfair to make people use those again. So these tyres, they probably won't be too warm by the end of this race, with it being so wet out on circuit. But John Bennett, using the extra visibility he's got to pull 4/10 clear, but it shows still how competitive and close this championship is. The fastest laps from Sharp in second, Kuharczyk in third, and Cresswell in fourth were all almost identical. A 47.71 from Sharp, 7.1 from Kuharczyk, and a 7.6 from Cresswell. So close.
Yeah, indeed. There you go. A lot more curb being taken there. Ed Pearson working his way through on the rear end of Sebastian Murray. That's 13th position, and I think we might have a good run off here. Oh my goodness, that is James Headley. No front wing, no grip, and Bosch, he goes through the chicane at Hislops, down towards Knickerbrook. What a disappointing round, and there is Ed Pearson going round as well. We're having a bit of a calamitous end to this race. He's got to get off that grass pretty quickly because it's going to be very wet. He might be beached.
Yeah, that may well be a safety car to end this race, or at least a double wave yellow in this section, because Headley's front wing stuck under his front wheels. He will make no further action. Oh, who's that? Kuharczyk himself. He's run into the back, I believe, of Louis Sharp. Front wing damage.
Yeah, and so that is Kuharczyk going to have to come into the pit lane. Joins the race circuit, and there goes Ugo Chukwu. He has not come into the pit lane, but he's not got any grip. He's got to be so careful as Kuharczyk. He won't know that front wing's gone under the car, apart from this almighty rattle coming in from the floor. Yeah. He's going to be so careful.
Yeah, he won't be able to see that. A reminder that the drivers cannot see their front wings because they're so low. And we were just saying, under the safety car, can Kuharczyk, get a solid result? He still might be able to finish the race inside the top 10.
He's going straight on there. Let's see what happens then. So Kuharczyk trying to get inside. Louis Sharp moves over a little bit in the braking zone, and the pair of them make contact. There goes Kuharczyk off the road. I think he might be off the road again, bearing in mind that line he had going into T2. He's dropping down the order. He does rejoin, and he's struggling his way through the Hislop chicane.
No, Kuharczyk's gone straight on. Yeah, he's joined that collection of cars down at the Hislop chicane. Kuharczyk, I can see why he went for the move. He had a good run out of Druids, but then once Louis Sharp closed the door, that's an example of potentially when Kuharczyk needs to say, you know what, third place is enough.
Yeah, indeed. Well, working his way through all of this carnage is John Bennett thinking, wow, what happened in that race? It was pretty calm for me. Obviously, he made an excellent move on Louis Sharp. Mackenzie Cresswell's worked his way up into third position, so for yet another podium. And we'll remind you very quickly with John Bennett, over the last 2 years in the GB3 Championship, he has only had 2 podiums. One in the first year, and that was basically in the final round, and one in the second year, and that was in that Silverstone round where he had the double pole after having a victory taken away. We had a podium yesterday, yesterday, and he's starting his JHR Developments career in almighty fashion, down into the final corner. And I think this time, third time is the charm when it comes to cross the line. I'm pretty sure he's going to hold this one, as John Bennett will come up to the line and take victory in the second round of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. An excellent drive from him. Louis Sharp will take over second position, and then Mackenzie Cresswell in third. Ignore the fact that Kuharczyk is at the top of the order. That is a transponder error.
Oh, what a drive from Mackenzie Cresswell, just to stay out of trouble and gain places onto the podium. Shows the importance of just staying out of trouble. Ugo Chukwu went on straight on at turn one, lost some places. Then we saw the Kuharczyk issue, and that's promoted Mackenzie Cresswell. He's a strong contender for the championship, highest seeded driver from last year. He'll be happy with that too.
What a different race from yesterday. Yesterday's race, I kind of called it, I kind of said it, and we all knew it. It was kind of boring, yesterday's race. This race was an absolute thriller. I loved that. That was phenomenal driving, phenomenal overtakes, brilliant stuff from Bennett. Shame for Headley and all that. Kuharczyk in the early stages was absolutely excellent. Just a bit unfortunate. You're absolutely right. Probably need to drive a bit more like Callum Foysen from last year.
It's heavy, you know, Kuharczyk, we know he's got the pace. We say it over and over again. It seems like whenever he sees an opportunity, he tries to take it with both hands, which is, you know, that's actually the right, it's the right attitude to have. But sometimes to finish championships, to finish races, you just need to just know when to back out, as Bennett did for the lead yesterday.
Yeah, indeed. But either way, that will be a victory for John Bennett, and probably some very positive interviews, I hope, from Bennett. Sharp again second, so the two of those will be joint on points as championship leader. But we've obviously got one more race this weekend, so who knows what's going to happen in that one?
Yeah, who knows, with the top 12 reverse as well, with Husenroder on pole position in race 3 later on. It'll be interesting to see if the track dries out, whether the rain continues. But also a new prize being added to this weekend. The top scoring driver from race 1 and race 2 will win an Omologato watch.
Yes.
So one of those of Bennett and Sharp will be getting that as their prize.
Do we know what the time break is for that?
If it's fastest lap,
then it'll be
Sharp. No, if it's
oh no, Bennett said it yesterday, didn't he?
No, Bennett's at the fast lap in this one, so I imagine Bennett's probably in the pound seat for that one. But keep an eye on the GB3 socials to find out who won that prize. But the main concentration is the winner of the race, who is John Bennett. What a drive! Good move for the lead, brave move, didn't make a mistake from there. Good pace, fastest on circuit. He'll be absolutely over the moon with that.
Yeah, and I think we all will be as well. We do like a bit of John Bennett in this championship. He has been phenomenal in this. And again, talk about how brave that move was. There we go. That's how much it means to him. He will be thrilled. And again, there's leading from like pole position and taking the victory that way, but that move, think of his heart rate when he was doing that.
Oh God, it was a brave move. We've seen moves similar. I think David Morales a couple of years ago did something similar in the dry, but here we go. The respect between drivers, Shuey Sharp giving him a high five. I think as much as Sharp will be disappointed to lose out on the lead, he'll know that was a pretty tasty move.
There's Mackenzie Cresswell, of course, the two Mackenzie Cresswell and John Bennett fairly close. So, like I said, I'm sure James Headley will probably, to be fair, probably be more irritated now the fact he's dropped right the way down the order, courtesy of that incident late on. Had Headley finished inside the top 10, I'm pretty sure there would have been some. Headley might have rushed his way down to the podium to go and congratulate John Bennett. You've got to have a fairly close paddock, I guess.
Great to see the emotion from the team as well. Just being very, very happy with that. And Mike Epps, his driver coach, saying, "Yep, fair play, mate. Tasty move, good drive." Oh God, it's great to see that everyone is celebrating, and we've got one more race to come, Lewis.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's head down to Chris McCarthy, who is in the podium area, about to have a little chat with our top 3.
Thanks very much, Lewis. Yes, we're just down here with John Bennett now, who's just been celebrating there with the team. John, we'll take you over to your car first of all, and we will get some reaction from you. I'm sure absolutely huge emotions, the team over there, and as you may have overheard, telling him that he's now leading the championship as well. John, let's get you over here. Wow. Your first win in GB3, of course, not the first time you've crossed the line first. We'll just stand you around here a sec, so we've got the winning car in the background. Not the first time you've crossed the line first, but the first time you can now call yourself a GB3 winner with probably one of the best moves we've ever seen pulled off in this championship as well. Tell us how you're feeling.
Yeah, well, I tried around the outside of Louis yesterday, so I thought
almost got there, but not quite. So I thought, give it another go today. And yeah, actually pulled it off. Yeah, like you said, 1-2 times with Carden last year, but both times we got given to JHR. So I thought, if I can't beat them, might as well join them, and actually got the win this time. So, so yeah, like over the moon with that. So.
Talk us through the move, lining it up, pulling it off, and how it felt after. Talk us through it all.
Yeah, well, the first couple laps of the race, just couldn't see anything from the spray. So off the safety car, I knew I just had to get right behind Louis, or else there wasn't going to be a chance. Got a good run through T1, right behind Louis. Close again through T2, got a good run. He left a gap on the outside, and I just thought, let's hope the grip's there, and just send in the speed. And yeah, I got alongside, up the inside for the hairpin, and yeah, made it work. So yeah, delighted with it.
And we've got team radio this season. What were the team telling you there at the end? What were the messages coming through?
Well, to be fair, after it was done, Mike was just a bit of a monotone, good job, mate, keep head down. Yeah, and then across the line, I was a lot more shouting, but yeah, very good feeling. So.
Coming in at the end there, what was it? How did it feel to jump out of the car knowing you were a GB3 winner?
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, it's a dream start to the year. After like the hardships we had last year, to start the year in this fashion, and yeah, coming away with the championship lead after the first 2 main races. Yeah, it's just amazing. And yeah, to get my first win, 3rd time lucky. So yeah, it's good.
You're following in the footsteps of some pretty big names, Formula 2 and Formula 3 drivers, and even in under previous titles, Formula 1 drivers as well. John Bennett, congratulations.
Cheers. Thank you.
Well done to John Bennett, the team all celebrating over there in the background as well. He was talking Mike Epps, of course, touring car driver in previous as well. All the team was celebrating over there. Let's go and find the other drivers on the podium. Louis Sharp here as well. Wow. 2 podiums in 2 races, first and a second. That's not a bad start to your GB3 career.
Yeah, it's not a bad start. This race was a little bit frustrating. The first safety car, or the first start was quite good. I built up a nice wee gap. But on the second restart, I was really struggling for grip there, so couldn't quite keep up with the guys around me. Made a little bit of a mistake trying to get on power out of turn 2. And then it gave John a chance to get around me. And at that point, I mean, I probably could have been a bit more aggressive to try to stay ahead, but to be honest, I'm thinking about the championship at this stage. I mean, I've learnt from my mistakes in British F4 last year. It's not about winning every race, especially in this championship. You just got to have consistent like podium and top 5 finishes. So, I mean, yeah, it would have been nice to get a win, but with a P2, I can't complain too much.
And your first race in wet conditions, tell us how tricky was it for you adjusting to that straight off the bat?
Yeah, it was very tricky. I think the track was a lot wetter than what me and the team were expecting. So I don't think we were fully optimised to these conditions. So I think there's a bit we've got to do to get the car in a slightly better window for the last race. But I'm confident in the team. We know what to do. But it was tough. The visibility is obviously very poor. It was very slippery. So each corner was like driving on ice. So it was tough. Just like I said yesterday, like I was just trying to not make any mistakes and just trying to keep it as clean as possible.
Reverse grid race coming up next. Confident you can make some places?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, reverse grid race is going to be probably a bit of carnage, especially if it's going to stay like this. So I think it's going to be tough, but I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm confident we can move forward.
Big points on the board. Congratulations. Well done. Louis Sharp, let's go to 3rd place, Mackenzie Cresswell. Next, Mackenzie, jump in front of your car for us. We've got a big puddle there, so I'll tell you what, we'll come round here. There you go. Much better, isn't it? Mackenzie Cresswell, 3rd place, and moved forward nicely in that one as well. Well done. You must be very happy with that.
Yeah, that was okay. I think given how we started the championship last year with no points coming out of round 1, I'm pretty pleased with how the weekend's gone. It was really a tough race. There was very low visibility, very low grip. I was really struggling with the car balance throughout the whole race. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with 3rd. I think didn't quite have the pace to catch 1 and 2, but I felt I was catching the group in front of me quite well. So yeah, I think we can be pleased with that. It's good points to start the championship, and yeah, I'm happy with it.
And I guess it was almost a race, wasn't it? Just staying on there, then making those places, wasn't it? The race definitely caught some prisoners out there, the conditions.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I didn't make an overtake the whole race and still managed to make up position. So, yeah, it's always what you hope for as a driver. You hope the car in front goes off, and luckily that's what happened. But yeah, it's just about not making mistakes in a race like this where it's so low grip, so low temperature in the tyres. So, yeah, I'm pleased that I managed to hold it together, and yeah, really happy with the team.
Glad to get this podium on the board now. I think you can convert into even more going forward now.
I'm hoping so, yeah. I think there's a couple tracks coming up that we feel really strong about. So, yeah, we have a lot of confidence going to Silverstone, going to Spa. So, yeah, I think it's good to get this weekend out of the way, get the points. Yeah, just hoping to build up that tally in the next couple of races and hopefully move up a little bit more on the podium.
Congratulations. Well done, Mackenzie Cresswell. Podium on the board. We'll let you go off to celebrate. They're going to go off to do the podium. Whilst they do that, we're going to get some more reflection on the race with our commentator, Lewis McGlade.
Yeah, superb stuff there. Thanks, Chris. And again, excellent to hear from all three of them there. And very interesting to hear from Louis Sharp and how someone so young, so new to someone like GB3 is already thinking championship game. I really like that. Again, probably could have done a little bit more. Maybe could have helped to fend off John Bennett. But the two of those there playing for the championship right now. Mackenzie Cresswell saying he basically did nothing in that race and still worked his way up onto the podium for them. Obviously very, very good. For John Bennett, it will be yet another podium. Do you remember Mackenzie Cresswell had 8 podiums, I think it was, last year, including a 4-podium streak. One of the races was cancelled, so fair enough, each of their own. Mackenzie Cresswell did end up having 7 podiums in 6 podiums in 7 races through Silverstone, the second Silverstone, through Brands Hatch and through Zandvoort as well. So finally kicking off his season with a podium. Pre-season, when we were talking to him in media day, was basically saying, he is aiming for the championship. It's basically his win minute this season. For someone like Mackenzie Cresswell, who did finish in 4th position last year. So we'll see them onto the podium. Of course, Mackenzie Cresswell will jump up there first with yet another podium. Of course, it's first of the season though, importantly enough. But he will take to 3rd position in that very, very bright yellow Elite Motorsports car. Into 2nd position is Louis Sharp. Podium yesterday, podium today, and of course is joint championship leader in this one. Both he and John Bennett are on 64 points. John Bennett onto the top of the podium for the first time, probably this time. Again, he did cross the line as the winner twice last year, but both of those were removed for various issues. This time did not put a foot wrong in that race, and I find it very hard to believe that anyone can take that away from John Bennett, especially considering he put on, I've commentated on the championship for a couple of years now, that is the best move I have ever seen in GB3. It was absolutely incredible, so brave, and such a well-deserved podium there, such a well-deserved victory for John Bennett. Louis Sharp maybe looks a little bit disappointed, but I think he can still be very happy to have left the first couple of races. Obviously, victory in one and then 2nd place in the other. They'll all take to the top step, all in high order as well. Fantastic news. But again, John Bennett will be elated. Surely a lot of pressure on his shoulders to go and try and hunt down the GB3 crown, but just again an unbelievable move to have pulled that one off. Now to have a little chat with Mark Merrill as punishment for taking that victory. Of course, no, I jest. By the way, John Bennett, I said before, 64 points for John Bennett and Louis Sharp. Ugo Chukwu after the race, by the way, will be 19 points behind on 45. Mackenzie Cresswell went, by the way, to 4th position in the championship now. Obviously, with 21 points off the race lead, 43 points to his name. Gerard Shee will be in 5th spot. I know a lot of people are big fans of the likes of Timothy Harczyk. He'll be down in 9th position in the championship. Maybe a little bit disappointed, obviously, with how that race went, considering he's battling for the podium and had that incident with Louis Sharp late in the race. Well, let me not talk about it. Let's watch it. Let's see highlights from the 2nd race of the season.
John, we'll take you over.
Highlights from the 2nd race of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, got underway in the very, very wet conditions. Louis Sharp, the race leader, then John Bennett behind, but big moves were coming in from Timothy Harczyk down the inside of Mackenzie Cresswell, squeezing him out a little bit down into T1, and it wasn't too long before he was getting past Ugo Chukwu down into the Shell Oils corner. Again, fantastic progress coming in from Timothy Harczyk as he was almost looking down the inside and would actually get down the inside of his teammate Gerard Shee, going down to the Hislops. Next target for him was John Bennett, but unfortunately his progress would be halted by a safety car. Eventually the race would get back underway, and John Bennett was the one on the attack now. He would go around the outside, and again, best move I've ever seen in GB3, straight around the outside of Louis Sharp. Respect given between the pair of them in the most unbelievably difficult conditions, through the island bend into the Shell Oils corner. John Bennett would take over the race lead in the 2nd race of the season. Timothy Harczyk was trying to take over 2nd spot from him, arguably looking like one of the fastest drivers on the grid throughout this race. Meanwhile, there was issues for James Headley, losing his front wing coming down the hill into the Hislop chicane after contact in the braking zone. Ed Pearson would also go off in the background before getting stuck on the very, very wet grass. Late in the race, basically the penultimate lap, and Timothy Hartic would go down the inside of Louis Sharp into the final corner, would make contact, would lose his front wing, and unfortunately, basically from that, would be out of the race after big struggles on grip. However, out through the final corner, John Bennett would take his first victory. Meanwhile, behind him would be Louis Sharp and Mackenzie Cresswell. Again, excellent drives there from John Bennett. Louis Sharp behind. I mean, you've got to respect the talent, but also you have to respect Mackenzie Cresswell. Said he did no moves in that race and still took himself a podium position. There are your very provisional race results, must be said. John Bennett taking that victory, and of course the fastest lap with it. Louis Sharp behind Mackenzie Cresswell. Uga Chukwu in fourth position with Gerard Shee, who's looking like a very different driver in 2024 than he was in 23, which, to be fair, I am very happy to see. Will McIntyre is sixth place, obviously a personal best for him, with Jared Waberski, the second highest of the elite drivers. Hugo Schwarzer marking up his personal best of the season, obviously thus far. Patrick Huitzenroder in ninth position with Arthur Rojon rounding out the top 10. He's quite good around Oulton Park, is Rojon. Then Aditya Kulkarni in 11th position with Sean Rashid. Sebastian Murray, after issues on the pace lap, having a bit of a spin back then. Flynn Jacks in 14th position. Timothy Kuharczyk marked as 15th place, one lap down. Noah Ping in 16th position as well. Then Headley, of course, off in that Hislop chicane with Pearson. Irfan and Queen had an incident earlier on in the race, both of those retiring courtesy of that, which will be investigated post-race, by the way. One final position on the grid, and of course that would be the Chris Dittman racing car of Rishab Jain, who had an issue causing the first safety car of the race by going off down into T1. We're going down to Piers now. He's in the paddock area and he's catching up with Gerard Shee.
We're down here at the media pen grabbing a word with some of the drivers, and Gerard Shee from High Tech Pulsate. Gerard, let's talk about that race. Tricky conditions out there. Yeah, you started up in third place. Small mistake just dropped you down the order, but P5 still a good result.
Yeah, I mean it's a decent result, but we can't afford that much mistake. If we stay on the track, I think we can still fight like P4, P3. Yeah.
The car seemed like it had decent pace, though. You're up there in terms of pace, and also your teammate Timek. At the start, he was flying, and he came up 2 or 3 positions. So I'm sure you're going to have a look and see what he did. But then, unfortunately, a mistake from him as well. What can you do in the next race to make that small gain?
Yeah, we need to look at what happened at the start. I think there's more grip to play with. I hope we can do a better start next race.
Let's just talk about the weekend as a whole. Your pace has been really, really good. Of course, 4th place qualifying for race 1, 3rd place for race 2, leading High Tech Pulsate driver. You must be happy with the dry running pace.
Yeah, I mean, in dry we have the pace to be on the front row. Just to be unfortunate in quali to get me P4, but still pretty happy about overall. And yeah, just don't make a mistake on my side, and I think we're going to be sweet.
Gerard, thank you very much for chatting to us. We'll see how you get on in race 3 later on the reverse grid, so you can go and prepare for that. Good to hear from a lot of the drivers, and I'm hoping to grab a word with James Headley in a second if he's available. James, are you? Yeah. James, a returning driver this year, just doing a few rounds as it stands, but a really tricky weekend for you. Your pace in practice has been really good, especially in the wet, and then unfortunately, talk to us about what happened while you're down the back of the grid and the starts.
Yeah, obviously, I think most people know about quali by now. Obviously, got done for track limits, so yeah, we moved from that one, and yeah, the car's been mega. Dan Mitchell and Arden VRD by Arden, they've done a really good job. So yeah, it's just such a shame, that they've got such a great package, and we just need to put it all together. But we just need some luck. I mean, it not only just me, like the whole team needs it. Like Noah and Sean, that they deserve it as well. So yeah, it's not going well. It's not going well for them. I feel really sorry for them, especially with all the potential that they've got. But
yeah, I mean, we do feel sorry for you. I'm sorry that we're talking to you under not the best circumstances. But let's look at the positives from that race. Starting dead last, you were up to I think 11th or 10th place, and then we didn't see the start of it, but we just saw you going into the Hislop chicane with some front wing damage. Just talk us through the race up to that point, which was really good, and then obviously the disappointment at the end.
Yeah, it was a great race. Obviously, just coming through slowly, and just trying not to die every lap, really. Like it was, yeah, I mean, it's bound to happen at some point. I'm just so annoyed that it happened right at the end. got all the way up to 8th, and yeah, I don't know what happened. It's too hard to call. I don't really want to say anything right now. I'll wait, see if anything happens in the stewards, and we'll see. But if not, probably just a race against them. But it's just unfortunate, you know. It is so hard to find margins of racing, especially around Oulton, and then no visibility. It's like, yeah, it's what can you do? So.
It's tough out there. Let's look ahead. Let's look positively. One more race to come. It's top 12 reverse this year, so unfortunately you won't be right at the front of the grid. But we're going to see the same sort of moves again in the final race.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, now we'll only have more confidence to do what we did. So, yeah, let's keep going. And I think, to be honest, it'll create more opportunities. With a bit more chaos at the front, slowing the front guys down, means I can be able to come through a lot better. So let's see. Let's try and end it on a high, shall we?
See you on the podium in the race 3 then, shall we? Cheers, James. Great to chat to James, because of course it's a disappointing weekend for him. So let's end that there. We've got one more race to come this afternoon. It's going to be coming up later on. Thank you very much for joining us. We're just going to have a quick word with Chris McCarthy. Chris, that was an action-packed final or second race of the weekend. The rain creating some drama out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely didn't it? We did mention about that whole race of survival, and I think it definitely became a race of that. Mackenzie Cresswell spoke to us in his interview about how he didn't have to make any overtakes to get on the podium.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we saw, really, wasn't it? It was just stay on the road, and if you could do that, then you were going to make some places. However, on the flip side of that, we did say to you guys that there was going to be some overtaking, and I think we saw one of the best overtakes the GB3 Championship has ever seen. From a driver's point of view, you've raced at this level, you've raced around Oulton Park. Tell us what you thought of that overtake.
What a move. John Bennett round the outside of Island Corner. Clearly got a good exit out of Cascades compared to Louis Sharp. But I didn't actually catch the interview of John Bennett because I was making my way over here. Did he say whether he got a good exit or whether Louis made a mistake?
Oh no, he said he'd got a good exit and lined it up from there. So
in which case
it was something that he was lining up for a couple of laps.
In which case, even better move then. Yeah. He got a good exit out of Cascades, and the exits are so important in the wet conditions because you can easily make the move up on the straight, and then to keep his footing around the outside of Island. If you touch the grass where he was, and he was centimetres, millimetres even from the white line, swap her on, you're in the grass, in the wall hard there. So, shows the commitment that Bennett has got, but also the desire to take the race win. He could have settled for another second place, but he didn't.
It shows the commitment he had to go and put those race wins right that he lost out on at Silverstone. But on the flip side, great racing from Louis Sharp as well. Good, respectful racing. I think we're seeing a good fight between those two lined up already, but we can't count out all the others that are in behind them. And we've got a good race lining up later. Conditions-wise, it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon, does it? I think we're in for another wet one later.
The likelihood of it drying out now that we saw on the stream, you will have seen at home, the circuit was completely saturated. Yes, there's a number of races between now and race 3, including the GB4 race as well, but I think it's going to be a wet one regardless.
Yep, 12:05 is when we'll have the second race for GB4, and the final race for GB3 of this bank holiday weekend will be at 1:45. We'll be building up from about 20-30 minutes before then, so make sure you join us. 1:15 is when we will begin our pre-race show with myself and Piers. Until then, from all of us here at Oulton Park, it's goodbye.
The season is underway. This is